President Buhari inaugurates Lagos-Ibadan Red Line and Deep Blue project to secure Nigeria's maritime environment.
This intervention, no doubt, will facilitate a conducive environment for the maritime sector to thrive and contribute to the diversification of the Nigerian economy.
President Buhari extols 9th National Assembly at their 2nd anniversary.
The leadership of the Senate takes crusade on respect for human rights to IDP camps.
We must ensure that these Nigerians who are in this camp and indeed in all other refugee camps or IDP camps, who are vulnerable in so many ways, receive what is due to them from government.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss the 2nd anniversary of the 9th National Assembly, plus federal government's suspension of Twitter in Nigeria.
All right, so it's precisely 2 years ago today when the National Assembly was inaugurated. And specifically on the 11th of June 2019, the 9th Assembly, that's the Senate in particular, took off with a legislative agenda that promises to improve Nigeria's economy, address insecurity, and most importantly, create jobs.
And President Muhammadu Buhari has, on behalf of Nigerians and the Federal Executive Council, extended warm greetings to the leadership and members of the 9th National Assembly on their 2nd anniversary, extolling their sense of duty and diligence in handling issues related to the development of the country.
Now, and on his part, President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, at Wednesday's plenary, congratulated his colleagues, reeling out their scorecard and other major achievements, while also calling for commitment from the senators themselves. Now, it was a moment of retrospection for all the legislators who pledged concerted commitment to peace in Nigeria. Now, halfway into the tenure of the 9th Assembly, the Senate says it has, or it received 745 bills, out of which 58 of them have been passed, while it has considered 250 motions, which mostly, that's according to the Senate, centered on economy and security.
That's right, Claire. Now, most Nigerians are particularly pleased with the role of the 9th Assembly in the return of the nation's budget cycle to January to December, while others have also applauded the harmonious working relationship between the executive arm of government and the legislature. Now, while this cordial relationship has helped in the speedy passage of a number of bills, some are, however, worried that it might blind the eyes of the National Assembly to its oversight functions with regard to the executive branch.
All right, so to speak, Kingsley, the Senate has also said it has carried a number of confirmations for appointments made by the executive arm of government. In fact, in the last 2 years, it says it has confirmed 60 presidential requests from the executive so far.
No doubt, Claire, the 9th Assembly has been busy. Now, reports indicate that the Senate alone has introduced in the last 2 years, and out of which some 350 at first reading, about 175 of them at second reading, while over 200 petitions have so far been received. And some bills have already been signed into law following the concurrence by the House of Representatives. And those bills include, of course, the Offshore Amendment Bill, the Finance Bill, as well as the Companies and Allied Matters Act 1990 amendment, and then, of course, which has now been passed into a new law. Now, others, of course, are different stages of legislative processing.
And from the House of Representatives, of course, we know that it says it has been working with a 15-point legislative agenda, and some of those will include anti-corruption, accountability, as well as transparency. There's also health, budget reform, national development, and others, of course, included in that agenda. Now, under this, the House says it introduced many bills which have been sent to the Senate for assent.
Well, having been functioning with an agenda they call the National Assembly that works for Nigeria, how have the actions of both legislative chambers really touched the lives of ordinary Nigerians in the last 2 years? And what positive impact has the Ninth Assembly had on national integration and development? Well, we'll raise those issues and many more with our guests in the course of our conversation segments on the program today.
And Kingsley, that's not the only topic we'll be having today. We have, like you always say, second leg discussion. And if you do remember, exactly a week ago on Friday, that's the 4th of June, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, announced that the federal government had suspended the micro-blogger, of course, and social media company known as Twitter in operation here in Nigeria. And of course, you know that that suspension came with some, knocks and few knocks and some commendations also in support. Of course, those criticizing the action are from within and outside the country. So what is the current situation? Of course, we know that, there's been discussions going on to resolve the issue. So what is the latest coming from that? And since Twitter have reached out, has Twitter reached out to Nigeria? That's the question many people are also asking. And is the federal government ready to dialogue? The federal government has been dialoguing.
Well, the federal government cannot dialogue with itself. That would be a monologue. The dialogue has to be between the two parties.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs had a conversation with some, diplomatic...
that was on account of the statements that the envoys issued following Nigeria's suspension of the use of Twitter in the country. And those embassies, of course, do not directly represent Twitter. And the conversation, therefore, couldn't be said to have been between the federal government and Twitter.
Thank you, Kingsley, for that clarification. So it's on that note we welcome you once again. It's Friday's edition of the program, Good Morning Nigeria. We are live from our studios here in Abuja. I am Claire Adilabu Abdul Razak.
And I'm Kingsley Osadola. I joined my colleague Claire to also welcome you to this edition of the program. As always, we're live on the network service of the NTA. Our program, of course, will include newspaper review, business, and others. In the meantime, let's join Dennis Adegunloye to give us the highlights of the morning news. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning, Kingsley. Good morning, Claire, and good morning, Nigeria. Here is the morning news. The Federal Ministries of Transportation and Finance have been directed to vigorously engage and reach financial agreements with appropriate co-financiers that will partner the federal government for the development of the Ibadan-Kano Railway. President Muhammadu Buhari, who gave the directive, also insists that the agreement must include the connection of the vital infrastructure to the Tinkan Island port and the West-East Coastal Rail line from Lagos to Calabar. This was while inaugurating the Lagos-Ibadan Railway and the flagging off of commercial operations at the Mobolaji Johnson Railway Station, Ebute Metta, Lagos.
From the beginning of this administration, railway infrastructure development has been given the priority it deserves, and various milestones have been reached. This vital line establishes an end-to-end logistics supply chain in railway transport within its short corridor, Lagos-Ibadan, as good to the hinterland, will now be transported by rail directly from the Apapa Port, quayside, straight to the inland container depot located in Ibadan, from where it can be distributed to other parts of the country.
The Integrated National Security and Waterways Protection Infrastructure, otherwise referred to as the Deep Blue Project, has been inaugurated by President Muhammadu Buhari. This is in furtherance of his administration's renewed commitment towards enhancing the safety and security in the nation's maritime domain and the Gulf of Guinea for economic development.
This intervention, no doubt, will facilitate a conducive environment for the maritime sector to thrive and contribute to the diversification of the Nigerian economy. I'm confident that the project, which provides a robust maritime security architecture, will enhance maritime domain awareness capability and improve law enforcement action, particularly in the prosecution of suspects under the Suppression of Piracy and other Maritime Offences Act, which I signed into law in June 2019.
Meanwhile, the federal government has vowed to act firmly and decisively against anyone or group of persons carrying out attacks on the nation's police force and other security personnel. President Muhammadu Buhari, who stated this at the formal handover of security equipment to the police by Lagos State government, maintains that his shoot-on-sight order against anyone found illegally with AK-47 rifles and other assault weapons remains in force.
As Commander-in-Chief, my primary responsibility remains the security of the country and the safety of all citizens. Despite the many challenges we are facing, I want Nigerians to rest assured that we will secure this country. We will secure our infrastructure, our highways, our communities, and our forests, and we will secure the lives of our people.
And President Muhammadu Buhari felicitates with the leadership and members of the 9th National Assembly on the 2nd anniversary of the Assembly, extolling the sense of duty and diligence in handling issues related to the developments of the country. President Buhari salutes the vision, courage, and patriotism of the Assembly, noting with appreciation the understanding and maturity of the lawmakers in speedily processing bills that directly impact the welfare of Nigerians, courageously finding common ground to move the country forward, and passionately carrying out their oversight functions with justice and fairness. The President, in his goodwill message to Senate President Ahmed Lawan and Speaker House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila, appreciates the harmonious working relationship of the Legislature with other arms of government and believes that the Legislature has brought dignity and honor to the country. He looks forward to more years of a harmonious working relationship with focus on improving the livelihoods of citizens and creating an enabling environment for a prosperous nation where both the young and old can fulfill their dreams. And the leadership of the Senate has taken its crusade on respect for human rights to the internally displaced persons camp in the Wassa community of the Federal Capital Territory. Senate President Ahmed Lawan led the senators, where he emphasized that the provision of amenities and security at IDP camps is not a favor, but constitutional obligations on the part of government at all levels.
We must ensure that these Nigerians who are in this camp and indeed in all other refugee camps or IDP camps, who are vulnerable in so many ways, receive what is due to them from government.
Over the last few years, the federal government of Nigeria, as well as other agencies of government and the Federal Capital Territory Administration, have been taking care of these vulnerable Nigerians.
And that concludes the news highlights for now. Good morning, Nigeria. On the 2nd anniversary of the 9th National Assembly, we'll continue after this break with Kingsley and Claire. I'm Dennis at Digunlo. Good morning.
The much anticipated UEFA Euro 2021 is finally here. Can Portugal defend the title they won 4 years ago as they face world champions France, Europe giants Germany, Spain, Italy and England? Catch all the action via live transmission, in-depth studio analysis, fixtures, results, updates, and lots more on NTA, Africa's largest TV network. For sponsorship and advert placement, contact Bola on 08037044286 or Idris on 08034633644. This broadcast is proudly brought to you by NTA in partnership with Media Business Solutions, MBS Sports.
The President has made a clarion call.
No one can do it better than ourselves.
We are Nigerians.
Let's together share our rich products, cultural heritage, and great talents with the rest of the world.
We are Nigerians.
Relevant stakeholders are joining the campaign, calling on fellow compatriots to come on board.
Be part of Made in Nigeria Expo, coming on the 15th and 19th of June 2021 at the Eagle Square, Abuja.
Made in Nigeria Expo is brought to you by
the Interministerial Committee on Nigeria at 60 Expo, in collaboration with Business Visa and Trainings Company Limited.
Revision classes on television for students in secondary schools in English and mathematics will commence on the NTA. The revision classes will transmit Mondays to Fridays from 5 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. on the network service of the NTA. This is organized in preparation for the various national examinations and orders. This is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Education.
Enjoy faster internet connectivity on Airtel Home Broadband. Get more than enough data on Airtel Router in MiFi and bring the most to your doorstep with Airtel Smartbox Outdoor Unit. Visit any Airtel shop or dealer's outlets to enjoy these amazing offers. More data, more you. Reliable home broadband by
Airtel, the smartphone network. The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Your Excellency, I present Basharun Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola for the conferment of the posthumous award of the Grand Commander of the Federal Republic, GCFR.
The first thing I wanted to do was introduce myself as NTA.
I was so happy because it had already been 25 years that we had been waiting for any kind of acknowledgement.
That also is a symbolic recognition of the fact that the ticket prevailed.
Personally, I knew late Abiola. When I have the opportunity, I want to make sure that his name has been put in gold.
My culture preaches peace. My culture preaches peace. My culture preaches peace. 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 My culture preaches peace.
Even our religion
preaches peace.
If our culture preaches peace, remember your culture. Use your voter's card. Vote peacefully
and wisely. We are one.
This message is from the National Council for Arts and Culture.
All right, welcome back to Good Morning Nigeria. Let's talk a bit of business now. Central Bank of Nigeria set to launch its digital currency, and our correspondent Kunle Ade will tell us all about it.
The Central Bank of Nigeria emphasized that its digital currency will be accessible to every Nigerian. The Director of Information Technology of the Apex Bank, Ruqayya Mohammed, admitted that risks are still associated with the proposed digital currency, but disclosed that emergence of the CBN digital currency will operate alongside other virtual currencies like the cryptocurrency. She, however, stressed that the central bank does not have control over the virtual or digital currencies, saying those transacting with such currencies only do that on personal basis. In another development, a skilled farmer, Reston Tadeke, has called for a public-private partnership approach to complement the federal government's effort in sustaining the achievements of the agricultural sector.
We have always asked that agriculture should be treated as a national treasure, because every industrial revolution has been agrarian, and Nigeria is in such a particularly good place, because when you're over 200 million people with an average youth population of 19 years, and you have over about 100 million arable hectares of farmland. What Nigeria must do is to use agriculture as the foundation of sustainable economic development so that you can mitigate the challenges that ordinarily should have arisen.
He said the sector has been pivotal in the federal government's quest to diversify the economy. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
Next for us now, it's newspaper review.
It's time to introduce Bayo Atoyebe, who is right here with us, and I'm seeing him for the first time in how many weeks, Bayo?
Just 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
Good to see you. Good morning, Claire.
Good to see you.
Good morning, Kingsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
Hi, Bayo. Good to see you. Okay, let's begin by taking a look at the window page of the Nation newspaper. Above the name flag, Why South Governors Call for Dialogue by Okowa. APC convention can hold before fourth quarter, and Congresses get dates. That's page 6. Federal government begins building of Kano to Dai Highway, and Army redeploys 11 generals in a major shakeup. And below that, that's to say the name flag says Monday is public holiday. That's in celebration of Democracy Day, which is tomorrow, by the way. So Monday is being granted as work-free day nationwide. North Group seeks suspension of constitutional review, page 28. Insecurity, that's the kicker. Shoot on sight, still in force, says Buhari. The president inaugurates Lagos-Ibadan rail. Someone will lose security equipment. Maritime security project takes off. Lagos mentioned, not reference to Tinubu. It was an interview there that was granted by the president. And in the highlights of the TV interview, it says, we'll use force against IPOB and others. War against bandits difficult. Government to dust up cattle routes laws. My appointments not lopsided, and military chiefs picked on field experience. Keep country peaceful for jobs to be created, President tells youths. U.S. seeks reversal of Twitter suspension. Digital currency coming, says CBN at last. I remember we discussed this on Good Morning Nigeria, and some of the guests on that occasion were quite clear to say that digital currency is the future currency of global financial transactions. So the CBN, of course, is now getting to shift its earlier stance, and just see how it works out eventually. That central bank said that it plans to introduce digital currency before the end of the year. Another police station attacked, page 4. And on page 3, NBA opposes presidential aid as INEC commissioner. And you see the president there, along with the governor of Lagos State, governor of Ekiti, and the minister of transportation, during the inauguration of the Lagos-Ibadan standard rail gauge for commercial operations. And that was in Lagos yesterday. Claire.
All right, let me also take off from that event that happened in Lagos. Indeed, it was a landmark event. That's the inauguration of the Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge. It's a double standard gauge rail project, and it was just spectacular to see, the facilities, the infrastructure. And I think, Bayo, maybe we need to quickly talk about that, before the other stories, because that's a landmark achievement for this administration. It's the fourth, anyway. Yeah. It's the fourth, double.
Yes, indeed. The 157-kilometer Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge train was formally inaugurated by Mr. President yesterday, and the President reiterated that it is a milestone in the revitalization of the railway as a choice of mode of transportation for both passenger and freight. One of the highlights of it is that there's a link to the Apapa airport. Therefore, goods from the quayside can now be transported by rail directly to inland container depot at Ibadan for further distribution inland. President was engaged also in other activities. The President launched the Deep Blue project, an initiative of the Ministry of Transportation and the Ministry of Defense. This is to manage the maritime and the Gulf of Guinea security challenges. Until now, goods coming to Nigeria were treated as if they were going to a war zone, and it is expected that with the Deep Blue Sea, security in the Gulf of Guinea will be seriously enhanced. One other activity of the President yesterday was the handing over of security equipment by Lagos State government to the Lagos State Police Command. In fact, Governor Sanwo-Olu declared all armed robbers, whatever called, kidnappers, cultists, traffic robbers, bandits, and other criminals, we will leave no stone unturned to make Lagos inhabitable for you. And the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba Al-Kali, also said no effort will be spared in building the morale of the police, and he restated the loyalty of the police and commitment and determination of the police to reclaim the public space. President Muhammadu Buhari also commended the resilience of Lagos, especially during the Endside riots. And while commending Lagos, he also recommended to other states to emulate Lagos in supporting the police.
Okay, but let's quickly, because we have just very limited time. Let me quickly take the other stories and then see if there's others that we can talk about in the time we have. Headers back Buhari as Afenifere Ohaneze reject grazing routes recovery. That's the lead story on the front page of the Daily Trust. And it comes with two riders. It's impossible to stop open grazing overnight. Experts. And go and resolve your security challenges, President tells governors. That's trending on the front page. And then, of course, just at the foot of the paper, 3-month-old baby, 5 women kidnapped in Abuja. U.S. Senate confirms Karishi as first Muslim federal judge. Karishi, it's there, it's on page 42. And, of course, Army redeploys 11 generals, appoints new spokesman. Details of that on page 11. Now, below the nameplate, gunmen kill 11 in fresh attack on Benue villages. And this one is for NYSC core members. Reps drop plan to scrap NYSC. And 2023, you can't sit in Lagos and dictate APC zoning, Buhari. I think this is all the stories trending on the front page of the Daily Trust.
Yes.
Incidentally, we may not have enough time we don't even have enough time to go through all this. But we just, of course, you've heard the stories trending on the front pages of the papers we have received today. So, Bayo, you bear with me. Or bear with us.
Yeah, just Bayo, while we are thanking you for being around, I was wondering, I was just flipping through the pages. Page 26 of the Nation newspaper, there is a photograph there. We can't see that now. I hope the editors check that out. We know Professor Joy Ogu, who was Nigeria's foreign minister and later permanent rep at the United Nations. She's still alive, I believe.
I thought so too.
Yeah, because I was just also checking now online, and but there's a misleading caption there on the photograph. Against her name on page 26 of the Nation newspaper. I'm sure that will be sorted out by the editors going forward.
All right, Bayo.
Thanks so much for being around.
Okay, Bayo, thank you. Have a good weekend.
You too.
We'll see you on Monday. This is Good Morning Nigeria. Don't go away. Sit tight. Our conversation this morning, it's one that you don't want to miss.
The much anticipated UEFA Euro 2021 is finally here. Can Portugal defend the title they won 4 years ago as they face world champions France, Europe giants Germany, Spain, Italy and England? Catch all the action via live transmission, in-depth studio analysis, fixtures, results, updates, and lots more on NTA, Africa's largest TV network. For sponsorship and advert placement, contact Bola on 080-37-044-286 or Idris on 080-34-633-644. This broadcast is proudly brought to you by NTA in partnership with Media Business Solutions, MBS Sports.
You clean your teeth every morning, but that fresh breath feeling just doesn't last. The answer? Easy. You keep your teeth strong and healthy and give your mouth long-lasting fresh breath with new Oral-B 2-in-1 toothpaste. It helps strengthen your teeth and gives you long-lasting fresh breath.
So fresh, still fresh, and still fresh.
Stay strong, stay fresh. New Oral-B toothpaste for strong teeth and long-lasting fresh breath.
At the first sign of pain, you need a solution that you can trust. Try Panadol Caplets. With Panadol's Optizorb formula, the tablet absorbs quickly and starts providing fast and effective pain relief you can trust. Try Panadol Caplets.
Your Excellency, I present Basharun Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola for the conferment of the Posthumous Award of the Grand Commander of the Federal Republic, GCFR.
The first thing I wanted to do was introduce myself as NTA.
I was so happy because it had already been 25 years that we had been waiting for any kind of acknowledgement.
That also is a symbolic recognition of the fact that the ticket prevailed.
Personally, I knew late Abiola. When I have the opportunity, I want to make sure that his name has been put in gold.
As Oni of Ife, as someone who cares about the well-being and safety of our people, it's time for each and every one of us to realize that COVID-19 is real and it has killed millions of people around the world. Scientists have developed this vaccine. The vaccine is safe for everyone and it contains no microchip, nor can it alter our DNA. However, we must continue to stay safe and stay clean, wear face masks, clean our hands on a regular basis, and try as much as possible to avoid a very large crowd and gathering. For those who choose to be vaccinated, it will go a long way in protecting yourself and your loved ones from COVID-19.
My culture preaches peace. My culture preaches peace. My culture preaches peace. 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 My culture preaches peace.
Even our religion
Preaches peace.
If our culture preaches peace, remember your culture. Use your voter's card. Vote peacefully
And wisely, we are one.
This message is from the National Council for Arts and Culture.
This is Good Morning Nigeria, and we are live still on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, to set the tone for our first topic this
If they say the ban is not effective, how come they say that they are losing billions of naira every day? And if the ban is not effective, how come that Twitter is reaching out to us now?
The minister, Lai Mohammed, made it clear that Twitter was banned in Nigeria, having become the platform of choice for separatists to promote their agenda. He said all those talking about freedom of speech and investments are doing so because there is a country called Nigeria.
The reason why we took the decision It's because we believe that every interest in Nigeria today is inferior to the corporate existence of Nigeria. Probably if they understand why we are doing so, probably their views will change. And frankly speaking, this is a time when politicians should rise above, divisions and queue behind the country.
The minister said the government is not unaware that Twitter actively supported the NSAS protests in Nigeria, where 6 soldiers, 37 policemen, and 57 civilians were killed, in addition to the valuable public and private assets destroyed.
Twitter definitely does not mean well for this country. Its interest in Nigeria is inimical to our growth. To do business in Nigeria, they must register as Nigerian companies. 2, they must be licensed. 3, they will have to refrain from using the platform for activities that are inimical to the corporate existence of Nigeria.
Consequently, the minister explained that the federal government has already taken a position that all OTT and social media platforms operating in Nigeria must register. Such operators neither have offices in Nigeria nor pay taxes to the government, for the billions they earned can no longer be tolerated.
That was actually Adamu Sambo's background report for us, and not Anthony Forson. Of course, we understand the confusion there. Anthony Forson, of course, covered more to the issues of the suspension and matters that arise from that decision. Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Elijah Mohammed, thank you once again for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me once again.
Right. Is this, in essence, a storm in a teacup, or it's a major government position that has, of course, a number of ramifications?
Thank you, Kingsley, and I'm glad that you are using the correct words. Twitter has not been banned. The operations of Twitter in Nigeria. Second, and it's very important, we are suspending their operations indefinitely for the simple reason that the platform is being used persistently to promote activities that will lead to the death of Nigeria as a country. And I think it's important to understand and appreciate this. People have tried to say, oh, the operation of Twitter was suspended because they deleted the president's, message. I think that is very unfair. We were very clear in what we said. We were very unambiguous that if any platform in Nigeria continues to promote the views of those who want Nigeria to be divided, we will suspend their operations. Secondly, we went ahead to say that henceforth, all OTT over the top and other social media platforms operating in Nigeria will have to register first and foremost with the Corporate Affairs Commission, then apply for licensing with the NBC, that is the Broadcasting Commission. In that way, they will have, or their operations will be regulated by the terms of their licenses. For instance, most of these OTT and social media platforms operating in Nigeria today have no offices in Nigeria. They're not registered in Nigeria. They make a lot of money out of Nigeria and they pay no tax to the government. So for us, it's a very fundamental thing. And frankly speaking, I do not see why the brouhaha about one, suspending the operation of Twitter in Nigeria. Why? We gave the reason that this has become the platform of choice for the separatist leader in particular, who stays comfortably in Europe and directs people to attack the symbols of our sovereignty, the symbols of government authority, such as policemen, military, INEC offices, correctional centers, and co. And we say, you will not be allowed to operate in Nigeria if you don't remove those tweets, before the suspension, mind you, we've made several, pleas to them to remove those tweets, where Nigeria is described as a zoo, where all of us are described as monkeys, where they say that if a Nigerian soldier enters into Biafra, it is death. And Twitter said those tweets did not offend their own rules. But we could not longer take it when the attack on police formations, the attack on military formations, the attack on cultural centers, the attack on the INEC offices became intolerable. We said, at this point, we will need to suspend the operations. And for those who are saying under what law, there are so many laws in Nigeria against sedition, against all kind of thing that prohibits this kind of thing. For those who are complaining that Nigeria wants to regulate the social media, I want to just give them 4 or 5 examples. Singapore regulates the social media. Australia does. Even EU, that doesn't have particular regulations on the social media, has made recommendations. In a white paper by the EU, it clearly says that social media platforms that publish content that are harmful to the security of a nation, or even impressionable youth, that such content should be removed. So I don't see why all the noise is coming from. And please, I'm constrained to say this because it's really not in my in my purview. We've seen so many foreign missions come up to condemn the action of Nigeria. Nigerians, please make a distinction between countries that are trying to protect their economic and commercial interests from those countries that actually genuinely love you and talking about freedom of speech. And don't forget for one moment that it's because there's a country called Nigeria that is freedom of speech. If there's no country called it, there'll be no investment. So I do not see why this thing should be so controversial. Unfortunately, our own people are the ones that are giving vent and actually protecting Twitter more than even Twitter itself. Under what guise? Freedom of expression. I believe that Nigeria still ranks among the countries with the freest media in the world today. Otherwise, why would we be discussing this here on a government platform? Now, Facebook, Google Hangout, WhatsApp, Instagram are still operating in Nigeria. So why will heavens fall? Because we are trying, one, we are suspending Twitter because it is promoting insurgency. Two, we are regulating OTT and media platforms so that they can pay tax, they can employ people, they can have business in Nigeria, and they can be regulated. So I do not see where the controversy is coming from.
Right, sir. Is there any dialogue at the moment?
Well,
an ongoing dialogue.
I think there's a tepid approach by Twitter, and I say tepid because they've not really. I think it must be on Wednesday. I got a call from one of the foreign missions saying clearly that, saying that Twitter is ready to have serious discussions with high-level members of government on this issue. But since then, Mom has been the word. Mom has been the word. So that's why I say tepid. I don't think, as of today, I do not see Twitter as being sincere in their approach to resolve this issue.
I want to just again take you back to the reason that the Honourable Minister has given for the suspension, emanating from, you said it's not your purview, but emanating from the international community, they're saying that the suspension arose because Mr. President's tweet was deleted. Is it coincident that the suspension came at that time?
A country has the right to determine when and where to make pronouncements, policies that threaten its corporate existence. To me, it's relevant that they deleted the president's speech. I've told you the reason, the official reason why government which government cited was because Twitter has become the platform of choice for those who want to destroy this country. And nobody can deny it. It's not even Twitter. And that takes me also to another issue about Twitter and its founder. I said it at the press conference that the mission of Twitter in Nigeria is suspect, especially Jack Dorsey. During the NSAS protest, I said Twitter funded the NSAS protest. And people said, no, I should come and provide proof. An online publication, Cable in particular, went to fact check. They came out with the same conclusion, even though the semantics might be different. They concluded that on the 14th of October, Jack Dorsey actually retweeted some of the posts made by some of the coalition, supporting the NSAS protest. On the same day, he actually launched a fundraising asking people to donate via Bitcoin. And on the 16th or thereabout, he launched another emoji to make the NSAS protest more visible on the microblogging site. And on the 21st, again, he retweeted he retweeted the tweets of some foreign and local supporters of the NSAS. So at the end of the day, have I not been proven right? If you would ask people to donate money via Bitcoin to people supporting NSAS protests in Nigeria, then you are vicariously liable for whatever happens at the end of the NSAS, protest. Because you see, people were forgotten too easily in Nigeria that this NSAS led to the loss of lives of policemen and soldiers. We lost 37 policemen. We lost 6 policemen. We lost 57 civilians. Properties worth billions of naira were destroyed. So in fact, 164 police vehicles were destroyed, 134 police stations were razed to the ground, 265 private corporate companies were looted, 243 public properties were looted, 81 warehouses were looted, and you are now saying that we don't have a reason to ban Twitter. Wait a minute. And this is why I get upset with people, especially the opposition. There's a time when you have to leave partisan politics and queue behind your country for patriotism. This is one sort time.
But this is not the perspective of opposition.
How then do you respond to the suggestions, if not accusations, in some quarters, that this is perhaps a major step in a crackdown on free speech in the country?
No, Kingsley, wait a minute. Look, what are we discussing here? This is a no-holds-barred discussion. Who can cage you, for instance? You in particular. You might not be my staff, but you clear you're my staff. Have you ever shied away
for asking me uncomfortable questions.
I have one I'm going to ask you.
No, of course I'm here. Now, what I'm saying is that, you see, it's not fair to say this. And I've answered that question at the beginning. I said, it's because there's a country called Nigeria that there is freedom of press or expression. And I said, is there anywhere in the world that the activities of Twitter, if actually proven to be supporting separatist movement, will not be suspended? I want them to say yes or no. And about freedom of press, look, if I open my WhatsApp message to you today, you will see that people in Nigeria simply cannot be controlled. Look at how many online publications we have in Nigeria today. How have we even done anything against those who are condemning government's activities, online publishers, lead of editors, everybody? But you see, as a government, we have a responsibility to protect our sovereignty. We have a responsibility to protect the corporate existence of Nigeria, not just for ourselves, but for the whole of Nigerians. I mean, for the whole of the country.
Precisely.
So those who are saying this is a way to stifle press freedom,
free speech,
I think they are just being mischievous. Like I said, Facebook is there. Google Hangout is there. Instagram is there. So what are they talking about?
Indeed. Well, of course.
WhatsApp is there.
Good Morning Nigeria used to have a Twitter handle. And you can see on the screen now we're having a Facebook source at NTA GMF for feedback purposes.
Exactly.
Usually for the conversations that we have on the
Kingsley,
program.
thank you for this information.
Yes.
I almost forgot. Well, Honorable Minister, again, I said I had one uncomfortable question. I'd like you to clarify. Some people, have this notion that, maybe Nigeria is only beefing, Twitter, assuming Twitter had set its operations here, not in Ghana, and this happened. Will the suspension still have been effected?
Of course, yes. Of course, no doubt about it. Whether they are in Ghana or they are in Ireland or they are in Afghanistan, if they stay there and they allow their property to be used to destabilize Nigeria, of course we do. Even if they are in Abuja, we do the same. So it has nothing to do with that. If they are in Abuja here and they use their platform to destabilize Nigeria, then what country do we have? What will be the worth of their investment if there's a war in Nigeria? They stay over there in Accra, and I'm told that we have about, I don't know whether it's correct, that we have about 40 million Twitter users in Nigeria. You are staying in Accra, fine. You are free to choose what your headquarters is going to be. But under Nigerian laws, you cannot do a business in Nigeria without being registered in Nigeria. I must pay taxes. You see, the thing about most of these OTs is that, you see, they operate under the radar. They took the world by storm. You don't know whether they are in communication or they are in information. And every country today is waking up to this. Yesterday, Thursday, Netflix and what is this other giant? Netflix and registered in Turkey, according to the licensing laws of Turkey, just yesterday. On Wednesday, the British Parliament proposed a law that will fine companies that that broadcast things that deal with that are inimical to certain groups, £80 million. Recently, France fined, I think it's one of these tech firms, $267 million for antitrust and for unfair practices.
Honourable Minister, I know the examples are many, but why do you think there appears to be the double standard? Because sometimes in the advanced world, when these decisions are being taken with regard to interrogating the operations of tech firms or other online platforms, it is taken as, well, emanating from their laws. But here in our jurisdiction, is it on account of our inchoate legal framework to deal or to respond to issues of tech and then online platforms and all that? Because the speed, if you like, with which a number of foreign voices rose against this, framing it as an assault on fundamental rights of free speech, is something that I don't think has been sufficiently interrogated. Would like to speak on that.
I agree with you absolutely. Like I said, but you see, don't confuse missions and foreign countries who are protecting their commercial and economic interests with those who are actually, protecting free speech. And this is not, like I said, it's not my terrain. The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs is more competent to speak on this. But clearly, I do not see any honesty or sincerity of purpose in all these comments. I need them to give me answers to just two questions. Is it proper for a platform to be used persistently and continuously to promote views that will lead to the disintegration of Nigeria? And if it happens in their country, what will they do? Secondly, is it wrong for Nigeria to say he wants to license and regulate the operations of OTT and social media platforms, given the fact that even EU has recommended the same thing? And Britain, only on Wednesday, spoke about a law that would regulate the social media. This is why I said they are being practical. Like I said, I don't like commenting on issues that have to do with, relations between Nigeria and other countries. But clearly speaking, on this score, they are being less than honest.
Okay, Honourable Minister, my final question with the time.
Is it the uncomfortable question?
Well, I didn't have it. No, it's not uncomfortable, but it's something that the Honourable Minister will have to clarify for us. As we hear that the licensing issue that came up may be a condition for Twitter, to dialogue with Twitter. I don't know if that is true. Mm-hmm. But if that isn't, Honourable Minister, and Twitter does not respond, how are we going to deal with the millions of young Nigerians whose sorts of livelihood will be affected or has been affected?
Claire, would there be a Nigeria?
No, that is a matter. That also is a matter.
No, listen. Would there be a country in Nigeria for them to earn a living if there's a war?
No, absolutely
on the contrary, most of these countries that are urging the youth on will be the first to supply weapons to both sides of the divide if there's a war in Nigeria. Now, I've made myself very clear on this matter. There are other options. When you deactivated your Twitter, you went to Facebook. Why must Twitter continue not remorseful? And you see, how would the time that they give them rules and regulations? If you cannot meet it, you get out. So I don't think we should belabor this issue. Let our youth, if Twitter is suspended indefinitely, let them understand that it is for their own sake. It's because we want to keep this country one. It's because we want people to respect our sovereignty. I don't know why this is so difficult for people to understand. That if we say, come and register in Nigeria, so that we can get more jobs for you. How many people does Twitter employ in Nigeria today? The Nigerians claim that billions of naira are lost daily because of the Twitter suspension. To who? Not obviously not the government. And those who are saying that the suspension is not effective, then why are they complaining about loss of revenue? But for us, we are not doing this to win, ovation or accolade from anybody. We are doing it because we believe it is in the utmost interest of Nigeria to so do.
All right. Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, we'd like to thank you for being with us in Good Morning Nigeria today. We do know that going forward, a number of issues will continue to arise from this, including, of course, how Nigerians themselves are responding to the new deal, as it were.
But I must say this before I go. Interestingly enough, I've also had a lot of support and encouragement from well-meaning Nigerians, both outside and inside. I think, and I want to take the opportunity to express my appreciation to them.
All right, thank you. I was going to mention the other leg of it because some weeks ago on Good Morning Nigeria, when we were discussing with tech experts, the issue came up as to how young Nigerians can be encouraged to develop more apps that could be available to us. And I recall raising that question, whether you can cross-communicate across apps. They said, no, that if you have an app and then you have the numbers in terms of our population, that becomes an opportunity. So let's see how that goes. It's a matter we will discuss going forward. Honorable Minister, once again, we thank you for being around. All right.
Thank you very much.
It's Good Morning Nigeria, and we are still on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Our second topic for today, of course, has to do with discussing the second anniversary of the 9th National Assembly. Let's listen into this background now by Ekene Undulwe.
The 8th National Assembly was rife with conflict and lack of cordiality in its relationship with the executive arm of government. The frosty relationship between the two arms was seen as the reason for rejection of over 40 bills and abandonment of over 100 bills on the table of the president as of the time the 8th National Assembly ended. With the expiration of their tenure, a new National Assembly was born on Tuesday, June 11, 2019, with the inauguration of the two chambers of the 9th National Assembly at separate occasions. 2 years down the line, what are the highlights of this assembly?
Issues mostly arise during the budget process and or during the oversight. You can see that for the first 2 years successfully we were all on the same page.
I recalled only in the 9th Assembly, when we are on break, we are asked because of the concern of Nigerian, we are able to come back to January and pass the budget.
That's Assembly, which of course is the Senate President and security situation of this country. And that led to the recent security conference or summit that was held.
We have synergized together between the 9th Assembly and the executive arm of the government. In terms of infrastructure, in terms of development, more especially for the insecurity that is in Nigeria.
Statutorily, our job is to pass law. And for that law to be effective, it has to be assented to for it to be an act of the power.
Also, within the 2 years under review, a total of 745 bills have been introduced in the 9th Senate, while 58 of them have been passed. 250 motions have been considered. What are the highs and the lows of the 9th National Assembly? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria shall be given their perspectives in a moment.
All right, thank you, Ekene Undulwe, for the background for this topic. And once again, just to remind you, if you've just joined us, we're discussing the second anniversary of the 9th National Assembly. And today we have here with us distinguished Senator Sadiq Umar, and he represents Kwara North, Chairman Senate Committee on Rules and Business, and as well as Vice Chairman, Primary Health Care and Communicable Diseases. He's here with us live in the studio. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We also have with us to discuss this topic, Honorable Leke Abejide, who is the Chairman House Committee on Customs and Excise. And also seated with us in the studio is Oke Epia, Executive Director, Order Paper Nigeria. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right.
All right, gentlemen, once again, I'd like to have you in our studios this morning. Let's begin the conversation with Senator Sadiq Umar. Quite clearly, to even the most casual of observers, it would say that 2 years of the 9th National Assembly have been defined by what happened last year and what's still ongoing, which is the coronavirus pandemic. But there have also been issues of insecurity and economic challenges. How has the Senate, in the 2 years of its 9th convocation, responded to these critical issues as well as others that you may wish to highlight?
Thank you very much. You know, from last year to this year has been really challenging for the country. And as legislators who represent the people, we are the most, as much as possible, still sit, meet, and then pass laws and motions to be able to respond to COVID-19. And I tell you something, because of the effort of the legislature and the cooperation between the legislature and the executive, the health sector is better today, even with the effect of COVID-19, because we have supported the executive with laws that allowed for resources to be appropriated to the health sector. And today, as I speak, most federal institutions, health institutions, they have more facilities for testing viral infections than it was before COVID-19. So for us in the health committee, those of us in the health committee, the understanding is that this is an opportunity to strengthen the health sector, not just looking at COVID-19 as the only challenge, because there are other challenges. So all the resources appropriated, was focused on strengthening the health system. So with the challenge, the health sector is still better for it. Insecurity, this is the big one that today we are still struggling with. But as a National Assembly, almost everything we do daily in the National Assembly is always focused on what we can do to solve insecurity problem. That's why, for example, out of the 250 motions that was brought to the Senate, where I sit, 26% of all those motions, that's over a quarter, were always on insecurity. And as legislature, the best we can do is, one, to pass laws, bring resolutions to address problems in the country, to make sure we cooperate with the executive as much as possible to be able to solve those problems. That we did very well in the 9th Assembly.
Okay, you have taken the aspects, that affect you directly. But let's look at National Assembly in general in 2 years, because that's what we're looking at, the 9th National Assembly in 2 years. And my question will go to Honorable Leke Apechide. In 2 years, against the 15-point agenda from the House of Reps, how would you evaluate in terms of deliverables and approach?
Thank you. As the distinguished senator said, the lifespan of this 9th National Assembly was affected by COVID. Like about 6 months was taken away from it. But despite this, we have been proactive in all our approaches. You see, when the COVID came, during that COVID, we went into session, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives brought out a bill called Economic Stimulus Bill in order to cushion the effect of the COVID for Nigerians and then companies that were not operating at that time. We have our agenda, we call it Legislative Agenda 2019 to 2023. And then one of the agenda is how to assist the executives to meet up with the January, December budget cycle, which by God's grace we have been able to keep to. We have done it first and second time now. And if not for COVID, the budget execution is supposed to start every 1st January. It was as a result of COVID that the budget was delayed a bit, and it started around March this year, because there was a spillover of 2019 budget to, 2020 budget to 2021. This is what happened to issue of budgeting. Then, issue of bills. There are bills that came from executives that despite that we were in the lockdown period, we went into session. We reduced our meeting into once a week. We started with once a week. After we moved to 2 times a week, while everybody was at home, in order to assist the country, in order not to deviate from our points, the agenda that we have for the House of Representatives. But as it is, we cannot say we have performed excellently well or we have done maybe 100%. But if I'm to rate our performance, I would say we have done at least 60% in our point of view.
60%, Kisley.
That's great. That's a B, I believe.
By the way, he's an honorable member as well.
Okay.
Not elected.
I'm not an honorable member of any legislature. I served in the State Executive Council, so that's years ago. Thank you very much, Honorable Leke Abejide. Let's bring in now Mr. Oke Epia, Executive Director of Order Paper Nigeria. Order Paper, of course, keeps track of occurrences in the National Assembly, and we've had you here as a guest on Good Morning Nigeria discussing matters pertaining to the federal legislature. Now, tell us from your perspective, against the background of the outline of work in terms of the legislative agenda.
Thank you. I would first of all agree with the gentleman from the National Assembly that they have tried their utmost best to keep up with their individual legislative agenda. Of course, the context of COVID, and the difficulties the economy ran into, were in recession at some point until we exited. So the National Assembly, of course, has been affected by all of these occurrences. But a holistic look at an appraisal of the National Assembly does not suggest a 60% pass mark, like Honorable Abejide has spoken. Let us take a context. The National Assembly is a representative or a representation of Nigerians. And from that perspective, a National Assembly that has ab initio received the tag of rubber stamp, the tag of an assembly that is more interested in being in bed with the executive, an assembly that is less concerned or less pushful with respect to issues that bother the generality of Nigerians. That tag has continued to remain with the National Assembly. And it seems to me that they haven't done much to try and address it. What actually happens is that they do a lot to try and also substantiate that suggestion, deliberately or by omission. And so the point is that a National Assembly that is more inclined to side with the executive. Now, do not get me wrong. I'm not saying that both arms of government should be in fisticuffs. Both arms of government should work in complementarity to achieve governance deliverables. But we must remember that the National Assembly is supposed to provide checks and balances to the executive. We have a democracy defined by separation of powers. And so if a National Assembly is not bordered by the perception, a perception is reality anyways, that it is more in bed with the executive arm of government than asserting itself, then there is cause for concern. I say this point because they must be mindful of the legacy that they would leave behind. 2 years is enough time to begin to define the legacy of the current National Assembly. If the impression sustains, like I have spoken, and the general mood of the nation appears not to be a priority for the National Assembly, then there is reason to worry about what kind of legacy it wants to leave behind. It is not about the amount or number of bills that you pass or that may have been passed or introduced or being processed, but it's also I have made this point before, the impact of those bills, the impact of those proposed legislations. How do they seek to improve the lives and living conditions of citizens? If the country is in a state of anxiety as it is, just yesterday we saw if the Senate would keep completely mute on an issue of what some have referred to as an assault on free speech, symbolized by the ban on Twitter, the suspension of Twitter services in Nigeria, and the Senate would keep mute on such a major issue like that, it gives concerns to citizens. The National Assembly, we are rubber stamps, we are a tag of the executive, and that's something that I think they should be concerned about. With respect to performance, I would not agree. And if you ask me, I would give you reasons why I do not agree that we have a 60% score line for the current National Assembly.
Okay, we'll keep you on hold now. But,
if you don't agree with 60%, are you saying that it is above 60%?
Really?
Or is...
lower?
I would say it is lower.
Okay. We'll come back for you to give us your own statistics and why you say that. But you have raised a point that I'd like us to begin with, and which is the approach, the Ninth National Assembly's approach to issues, especially where it concerns, relationship between the legislature and the executive. Now, that has been described as a paradigm shift. Is it rubber stamp, as you say, or has it been impactful? Senator Umar.
Thank you very much. Before I answer that, let me disagree with both of them with the score. I don't think the National Assembly scored 60%. By my judgment, it's 75%.
Well, that's the Honorable's assessment. So
okay.
He's entitled to his ratings.
Okay,
yes, so you are also entitled to your own
excellent.
ratings.
And I say that because we need to ask ourselves, what's our responsibility? What's the constitutional responsibility of the National Assembly? I was a teacher, and for you to score a student, you need to have, marking scheme. We are asked to make laws. We are asked to do oversight functions. We are asked to give approvals to allow for good governance. If you look at the statistics, 745 bills, almost about 70, both concurrent and the one we passed in the Senate. If you compare that with the global statistics, that's very high. Motions, we brought in motions about 250. And if you look at the statistics of that 250, each of those motions were addressing the challenges the country is facing. And that is why 42% of those motions in the Senate were on the economy of the country. 26% were on security, 6.5% on health, and 4% on education. Our senators brought in motions that affect their people. They have to do that because the people is their bosses. Those are the people that hire and fires them. I'm sure even if you look at the statistics of the House of Representatives, it will be similar. So to allow for that, as far as we are concerned, we have done what we are asked to do. Maybe people assess us on other fronts different from what the Constitution asks us to do. That's the challenge, really, in the country. As far as being rubber stamp is concerned, well, I'm happy, Claire, you kept it in the right perspective. Is it rubber stamp or collaboration and cooperation with the executives? To us, our understanding is that we represent the people, our bosses. Anything we do here should be in their interest only. That is the best you can do, apart from making laws for good governance, all the things I've listed, oversight and so on. The next you can do is to cooperate more with the executive to be able to deliver good governance and developmental projects to your people. And that's what we do, and people misunderstand that as rubber stamp. But let me say this. It's not as if it's everything that the executive brings that we agree with, as far as Senate is concerned. Where things are wrong, for example, for confirmations, when they bring it and we think it's not right, we try to correct it from the beginning. There's no need of any rancor, grandstanding. No, we don't want that in the Ninth Assembly. So if there's any confirmation that we think is going to be a problem, we try to stop it at the preliminary stages and say, no, this is not okay, this will not pass. It will create confusion for us. So those we pass are those we are sure are good enough to pass. And that's why we pass it. We don't need to grandstand to show that, you know, we are standing up to the executive. We are raising our chest. We think our problems in this country at this time is too much to be grandstanding and be fighting when the people we represent, our bosses, are suffering. So that's the misunderstanding of the concept of rubber stamp in the Ninth Assembly. It is cooperation, collaboration of the executive in the interest of our constituents. That's what we do. But there has been disagreements. The public might not know about it, but we have places we disagree. And if the executive brings anything that is clearly against the law or against the interests of our people, I assure you the Ninth Senate will stand up strongly and the people will see that.
Have there been cases of that?
Well, like I told you, there are a few cases of things we disagree to happen, but it has not been brought forward. We don't want that. Well, you know, I am of the APC too, even though our Ninth Senate is a bipartisan Senate. Both the PDP and APC, we work together closely as a family, deliver what we promise our people. So as much as possible, we are the majority. We try to make sure anything that will be a problem to destabilize the Senate, we try to stop it at least at the leadership level. And we are lucky we have a Senate president who is very experienced, who understands all the games. He has seen all of the what has happened in the National Assembly since 1999. So he brings that experience to bear with other leaders. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Senator Sadiq Umar. Let's bring in Honorable Leke Abejide. From the perspective of the House of Reps and listening to what Mr. Uka Ipia referred to as the public perception of the National Assembly being a rubber stamp, is this a misunderstanding of the harmonious working relationship between the executive and the legislature, even though there ought to be checks and balances?
Of course, yes. Just like this thing we said, you see, Nigerians should be thankful that this National Assembly is working this way. There is smooth relationship between executives and the legislature. Look at the issue of budget. Let me start from there. If there is no cordiality between the two arms of government, in 2021 there will be no budget. If we were to face the kind of system the 8th Assembly was using, whereby they will be fighting on the same budget that will take them 6-7 months. We passed the budget December 2020, before the new year, and the president signed it before we entered January. And COVID started February. If the relationship was not there that way, we will be in the COVID era, and there will be no budget for this country. This is a very great achievement, and that is a very great opportunity for the country. The people that are talking outside, how I wish they can contest the same election and come into the National Assembly and see how easy it is. It's easy to stay outside. As you can condemn a footballer by being a spectator that, this one doesn't know how to play. Go to the field and play it and sit with the executives. I have said it before, that if my relationship with the executives enable me to attract rogues to my constituency, enables me to bring infrastructures, schools, and other things that will bring life and make life better for my people, you call it a rubber stamp, so be it. And that's what I said, and I stand by it. You want me, okay, tell me, let us, now we are 2 years in office. Let's compare it to 4 years of 8th Assembly. What was the achievement for 4 years? Because of lack of relationship between the two arms of government, everything went down and was at a standstill. You can see the speed at which things are being done now.
Were you in the 8th Assembly?
I was not in the 8th Assembly.
I'm sure that some of those who were in the 8th Assembly won't agree with you.
Yeah, they will not agree
Because
with me, but it's a public knowledge.
We have had some of them also on Good Morning Nigeria, who are in the 9th Assembly.
It's a public knowledge. It's a public knowledge that there was always a problem between the two arms of government, that is the legislature and the executives. The budget, which is the instrumentality of every development you can talk of, was not attended to. They hardly implemented budget for 3 months before the next budget cycle. So tell me, what development can you achieve in this process? This of APC, I'm of ADC. But when I see that this is for the good of the people, I join hand and do it. What is the essence of me fighting the executives and I will not be able to bring anything home for my people? My people will not know, they don't care about the English I speak on the floor. They don't want to know the kind of noise I make on the floor, but they want to see what I brought home. These are the things we are talking about, and that is what is called governance. A situation whereby you go 4 years and then you come home empty in the name of fighting the executives. What they are looking at from outside is not our responsibility. And if you say we have not counter-executive in any way, I will say no. Look at the issue of service chiefs. Nearly everybody in APC, there were meetings we had, executive sessions, that they will talk tough. And there are all those ones that medias are there, they witness, that they will talk tough, that the president should change the executives. And they are part of APC. That these people that you appointed, they are not more functioning. They are creating problems for us. And no, at the end of the day, we were able to get our way, and the service chiefs were changed. This is one of them. And as he said, it's not every bill that the executive...
Was it by the intervention of the National Assembly that the service chiefs were changed?
Yes, I can see. That I believe you are in the media. You know the effort National Assembly put both in the Senate and in the House of Representatives. To the extent that the leadership had to go to the president and tell him that this is what we want and this is what Nigeria wants. When it seems as if the motions were not working, they were not being adhered to, they had to go physically, and they met with the president and discussed with him, and not too long after, they were changed.
Well, I think, I'm sure some observers will agree with what Honorable Leke Abejide is saying with regard to the consistent motions and resolutions that the National Assembly passed in trying to get the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, to drop the then service chiefs, which happened some months ago. But I want to return first to Senator Sadiq Umar. It's the totality of our national experience that we're looking at here. How well do you think the National Assembly has tried to impact our nation on Good Morning Nigeria, as indeed you would have had on other platforms? The Honorable Minister of Information just left here. We've had him a number of times. Some members of the National Assembly have also been here on Good Morning Nigeria. At some point, the key denominator describing life in Nigeria, fear, anxiety, uncertainty, with all kinds of criminality going on in different parts of the country, plus economic pressures, not arising from lack of effort, but that just things were not gelling the way they ordinarily should be. What has been the response of the National Assembly to this?
You see, the National Assembly or legislatures in Nigeria were in a situation that we do excellently well at our own level. We do our job. Whether that is implemented, that's why I call it Catch-22, our bosses, the people that can hire and fire you, their expectation is totally different. For them, like you enumerated, they want you to build roads for them as a legislator. They want you to build hospitals. They want you to take care of their education. We've done in National Assembly, because we know this, anybody who's in the National Assembly is experienced and responsible in his own right, is what answers your question, which is that we pass laws and resolutions that we try to engage the executive with that. Please help our people. We are the one that knows We are the one that feel the heat, representative of the people, because we are the one that, the chamber is like you bringing all Nigerians there, because we are representing them. They are there to talk and ask for what they want. We do that on their behalf. So even after motions, bills for good governance that we pass, that is tough work too, which our leaders also go to meet the executive. This is because a government is a government. There is one single government in this country. Even though it's a separation of power, check and balance, it's just to allow democracy that nobody does what he likes without a control. Or else, we are a single government. The executive, the legislature, the judiciary, it's just one government in Nigeria to govern Nigeria, to help the people of Nigeria to be happy. There should be peace. That's why there is a government. And it's our responsibility all to join hands to achieve that. And that's why we do what we do to maintain this harmony to achieve this result. So after passing bills and motion, I'm answering your question, we try to address, and I've shown you the analysis. Whether you look at the bills or the motion, everything we did is always targeting at all the challenges our people have faced. Security, economy, health, education, we have done that. After doing that, our leaders try to go and engage the executive to say, look, these are our problem with past motion. Can you ensure this has happened? Can you change it? Can you do that? We do that behind the scene. Then, most importantly, in our individual capacity, because we know we are in a catch-22 situation. If you like, pass 50 motions, like you mentioned, pass all the law, the people who will vote you, the real voters, that's not, yeah, a few of them will be happy that, oh, good representative, but that's not what affects them. They want their problems, so you know what? We are the ones that solve these problems most time more than what the real government does. I can tell you that. We are the heads solution to our people. We are their economic solution. We are their educational solution. You have to pay school fees. You have to pay house rent. You have to pay hospital fees.
Does this speak to the dysfunctionality of the legislature? Okay, Pierre, I'm sorry, Senator, we'll come back to you. I'm asking this question because over the years, we've had this, if you like, misplaced expectation of constituents of their representatives in the legislature, at state level as well as at the national level. Okay, Pierre, is this part of what we've been experiencing since 1999, where the constituents will expect lawmakers to perform executive functions, and the lawmakers have persisted justification for some of the financial issues that then arise, including how much they earn, which is opaque, and so on and so forth?
Yes, unfortunately, the National Assembly or members of the National Assembly have been complicit in maintaining, you stated, because the nations by constituents have remained because the National Assembly, one, continue to deliver on those expectations, and two, are falling short of citizen engagement and citizen enlightenment to know what is it that is the roles of legislators. There are different actors in the space, you know, non-state actors who have taken on these roles like we do at other people. But you don't even see a sense of, okay, look, we appreciate what you do. How do we join hands together to keep, you know, to amplify these things that you do? So you see a National Assembly that is like, okay, we're just okay. Maybe it works with them, you know, in advances setting other interests. Speaking to this functionality of the legislature, let me agree or sympathize with the catch-22 analogy Senator Civic used. And I think that it's easier to relate with the difficulties the National Assembly is facing if we advance arguments from that perspective. Because if we continue to push back at public perception to say, look, no, we have done this is what we're supposed to do, you know, it's unhelpful and it can be offensive to what citizens already know. So when I speak advisedly because I understand how these things work, and I also have people I talk to, members in the National Assembly that I speak to in confidence, and they say to me that, look, yes, you know, these are the things, this is the way it is. If we say, and I agree with that strategy, that you have, you know, constructive engagement, you know, a paradigm shift with engaging with the legislature, that's beautiful. I have said it, and I say it again, we are not asking that you should go and be in fisticuffs with the executives. That's not what we want. But what has it amounted to? What is the results? What has it resulted to all of these engagements that you talk about? Now, if you have over 40, about 48 bills or 50 or thereabout that have been assented, that have been passed by this National Assembly, and about 40 of them have not been assented to by the president, what does that speak to? If you have about 69 or 70 resolutions passed on its security in the Senate, and none, I stand to be corrected, has been implemented by the executive, what is the result? What is the essence of that complementarity, of that paradigm shift that you talk about? If you have an economic stimulus bill that is passed by the House of Representatives, after mentioned by Honorable Bejide here, and the bill has remained stuck even within the National Assembly because the Senate has not given concurrence. So it has not even gone to the executive for assent. So what is it that you're talking, even intra-parliamentary, at the intra-parliamentary plane, you do not see that complementarity in practice. So all of this theorizing is fine, but you don't, I am in a position to disagree with you and advance my point like I just did with data and statistics. And I like, again, I must commend the distinguished senator, as chair of the Rules and Business Committee, I like the way he's speaking to facts and, using a more conciliatory approach and using data and statistics from his office, to tell the stories. But, Nigerians are in a hurry to see the results, and you will not blame them. Nigerians have been pushed to the wall. The state of things Nigeria is in a perilous, some misplaced. Expectations may be misplaced, but it's also partly your fault. You have to deal with that. Okay? So the point is that there must be that determination to address critical national issues and questions by the National Assembly. The National Assembly must be sane to side with the people.
Okay. And Honorable Abejide, we'll go on.
The much anticipated UEFA Euro 2021 is finally here. Can Portugal defend the title they won 4 years ago as they face world champions France, Europe giants Germany, Spain, Italy and England? Catch all the action via live transmission, in-depth studio analysis, fixtures, results, updates, and lots more on NTA, Africa's largest TV network. For sponsorship and advert placement, contact Bola on 08037044286 or Idris on 08034633644. This broadcast is proudly brought to you by NTA in partnership with Media Business Solutions, MBS Sports.
My name is Nancy Oyedia Orom. I'm AIT correspondent. I've been covering the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 the last 1 year. I just took the jab, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, and it was seamless. And I was opportune to take these vaccines with the SGF, the ministers. So I want to use this medium as a journalist for someone who has experienced COVID in the last 1 year. I want to implore media houses, broadcast industries. Let's join hands together to propagate the good information out there for people to believe in these vaccines. That's the only way we can have health immunity and also achieve the projection and target of Nigeria come 2022. Well, I must implore all Nigerians to go out there, register on the Primary Healthcare Development Agency website. These vaccines are free for all Nigerians. Go to the website, register. It is free for you and I.
The Council of Our Fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
My culture preaches peace. My culture preaches peace. My culture preaches peace. 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 My culture preaches peace.
Even our religion
Preaches peace.
If our culture preaches peace, remember your culture. Use your voter's card. Vote peacefully
And wisely. We are one.
This message is from the National Council for Arts and Culture.
It's the dawn of a new era on NTA's flagship program, the Sports Parliament, revitalized with lots of varieties, including feedback responses from viewers. Sports Parliament, the weekly sports show that exposes all the intrigues in the Nigerian sports sector and projects an agenda on the way forward for Nigerian sports. On NTA every Thursday at 10:30 p.m., running for 1 whole hour, discussing sports. The parliamentarians are more committed than ever to enlighten the viewers as the Sports Parliament takes it to a whole new level on the floor of the House. Keep a date with the Sports Parliament as motions are moved every Thursday on the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, with his gavel to harmonize sports resolutions. The House have it.
Good morning, Nigeria. Still on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We are on the home stretch for to this edition of the program. Let's quickly bring in Senator Sadiq Umar to respond to some of the issues raised by Oke Epia with regard to, again, the Catch-22 situation and what actually needs to be done. And after that, we'll also take some comments from Honorable Leke Abejide before we begin to get your closing thoughts.
Yeah, thank you very much.
On pending matters.
And thank you, okay. Yeah, okay, raised some germane issues, and they are very, very relevant. However, I need to clarify that with these resolutions, bills that we pass, like it did say that, where is the effect? The truth is that most time, the executive will take those resolutions and implement. But when they implement, they will not come out to announce to everybody that National Assembly leaders have come, they've said it's based on this resolution that we are doing this. They don't do that. And the effect will be there for those who are directly involved. Some people might see, some people might not see. So now, but talking about the challenge of us trying to respond to what the people that hire us want and the reality, it is so difficult in the stage of our development right now. Democracy is not an event, it's a process. And we are just, how many years? If you like, from 1999, you just say 20-something. If you like, from 1960, you still say 50-something years. But we're still a toddler as far as democracy is concerned. The journey is still very, very far. Until we get such a point that both the voters and are involved. You know, it's citizens to do that. It's part of a responsibility of civil society and so. And they have to participate in that system. They have to go back to the community to mobilize, and the people will get to understand the game better. But if you do that, they will not understand until they see the result. And part of the result is, for example, the Appropriation Act. Let budget work for everybody and get to every community in the country. Then the people will see impact and the pressure will be less unrepresentative. But right now, I tell you something, even in some of my local government, the 2021 budget or 2022 budget that has been produced from the ministry, there might be no any significant money in those local governments I represent. Without National Assembly member, there will be probably no federal presence in our area. Okay. So until we do all of that, then the people can start to understand from our perspective.
One other important, yearning of Nigerians is the electoral reform. Electoral reform. For a long time, Nigerians have been asking, for the National Assembly to, intervene in this area. We haven't seen anything from the National Assembly with regards to that. Also, except recently that the President of the Senate has given assurance that the PIB, will be passed by the end. But these are two bills that, the Ninth Assembly, has refused to work on.
Is it for me?
Yes, it's for you.
Okay, I will just come to that. Before I come to that, let me also respond a little, maybe just like a second. In Nigeria, if you want to contest election...
You have 2 minutes to respond.
Okay, if you want to contest election, you will be the one that will print T-shirt, face cap, you mobilize, demobilize, buy cars. So people need to be educated that that's not the process. And then they believe that where you are going, they will tell you, the day you saw me, I'm coming to collect my car. The bills you are talking about. Somebody was asking, I was watching Politics Today on channel, said them that the bill has been passed. So, and they were asking him, where is the bill? And he told them that they are still working on it, and I believe Nigerians know that. Me, I'm interested in the bill to be passed. because it will help our electoral processes. And like the PIB, it will open up the sector. People will be able to participate, not like now. So everybody is interested. It's only that it takes process, and there are a lot of interests. Some interest beyond National Assembly. So it takes time for us to be able to aggregate all this together. But I believe, as the senator said when I watched him, they asked for definite time too, just like what you're asking me, the definite time. He could not give definite time, and I, sitting down here, I will not be able to give definite time, but I know definitely that bill will be passed.
Yeah. I was just wondering, Pierre, Pierre, on these two pending issues, there are several others. Electoral reform before the 2023 elections, and the base. Let's take the petroleum industry bill, for instance.
Well, I think it may be both. Hurry to get for long enough, for this long. It doesn't allow for excuses anymore. You know, we have had timelines. The President of the Senate has said the electoral bill will be passed. He has given 2 timelines at least that I know of. And then he refers to what the chairman of the committee speaks about on TV. No, let that bill be passed. If that bill is passed, I assure you, Honorable, you won't have to spend much money you're talking about. You proposers that will enable us, it's up to you. Oh. The same thing for the petroleum industry bill. We are in a hurry to have that bill passed because it will reform the entire petroleum industry and, indeed the entire economy, because you know that the economy is resting on petroleum sector, where you have over 60% of revenues coming in, and over 90% or thereabout of our foreign exchange. So why do you not want to fix that sector in a hurry? What is the difficulty? So there are clearly no excuses, and let me just, before I go, make this point about what this distinguished senator said about some of these resolutions being implemented. That's good news. That's cool stuff. I like it. But we should be told. It should be in the public domain. For God's sake, you have a committee on legislative compliance in the Senate. You also have one in the House of Representatives. So if the executive will not come to the public to say that we have implemented these resolutions, what are those committees doing?
Good. Okay, thank you. Distinguished Senator, you have the last word. So why are these bills not getting the attention of the National Assembly?
Thank you very much.
Urgent attention.
Yes, I'm lucky that I'm the chairman of Rules and Business in Senate. I'm a member of INEC. I'm a member of Petroleum. I'm a member of Constitutional Review Committee, all the 3 issues. I tell you something, they are not stuck. Work is going on. We have sleepless night. I read, we have committee meeting, we go for retreat. That's what we've been doing. But this time around, we want those bills to pass. We don't want it to go the way it has gone before. That is why all stakeholders, all the interest is talking about. That's what legislation making is about. You need to involve everybody. We are doing all of that to make sure this is neat and clean, including the executive. And the good news is, before we go on recess, by early July, thereabout, second week, these 3 bills, we intend to pass it.
Can you name one? You are saying July. The Senate President said
end of June.
End of June. Earlier we had heard was April. So the goalpost is shifting again.
It's not shifting. Okay. The Senate President is the leader, and from what I know, I can assure you our dream is by June ending. But when, like you said, they're already attacking the chairman, anything can go wrong in that process of passing. It can be something a little. It might delay you for 2 days. That's why I'm giving the rule that before we go on for a recess, July. But June is actually the target from our discussion.
Richard, what are the 3 bills again?
Like electoral reform, PIB. The 3rd one is the constitutional amendment. We actually want to also pass that before we go. Right. We want to do all these 3. We are serious. In my other paper, I have special spots for this. I'm just waiting for the chairman to say, we are done, let's go, and we will move.
Distinguished Senator Sadiq Umar, thank you. And Distinguished Senator represents Kwara North, and his Chairman, Senate Committee on Rules and Business, Vice Chairman, Primary Healthcare and Communicable Diseases, is also a member of many other committees at the National Assembly, Senate precisely. Distinguished Senator, once again, we thank you for joining us on the program today.
My pleasure.
Let's also appreciate Honorable Leke Abejide, who is the Committee Chairman on Customs and Excise. He's representing Yagba Federal Constituency. Thank you very much, Honorable, for joining us. And Epia. Thank you very much. Is Executive Director, Order Paper Nigeria. And as Kingsley said, they keep track on all the activities of the National Assembly. Thank you once again for your perspectives. And Kingsley.
All right, so that's it on Good Morning Nigeria for today. And indeed, for the week, the program returns on Monday. That's a public holiday, but of course, Good Morning Nigeria will be on air. Until then, do take care of yourself, enjoy your weekend. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Claire Adelabu Abdul Razak. Always a reminder for you.